Shalom, all praise to Yahweh, Shema, Shah, double honor to the Apostle GMS. This is Never Allah coming at you another video. And in this video, we'll be focusing on the book of St. John, chapter 19, verse 24. Going to the prophecy about Yahweh Shah's garment and how they had cast lots for his garment. So, matter of fact, we start from verse 19, St. John 19:19. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross. And the writing was, Yahweh Shai of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Yahweh Shai was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew, and Greek, and Latin. Then said the chief priests of the Jews to Pilate, Write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am King of the Jews. Pilate answered, What I have written, I have written. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Yahweh Shai, took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part, and also his coat. That the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. Let's go to that word seam.
Strong's G 729, Arafas.
Arafas. Not sewed together without a seam. Here you go, seam, meaning, from Oxford Languages, a line along which 2 pieces of fabric are sewn together in a garment or other article. So it was without seam. In other words, it wasn't a bunch of garments sewed together. It was one garment. So the Yahweh Shai's coat, that garment, it was without seam. In other words, it was one part. It's like if a person takes, for example, think of it like a robe. A robe is, or like a shirt. It's just one article of clothing that goes over you. So that's how Yahweh Shai's garment was. It was just one garment, one article of clothing in itself. Okay? Which symbolizes oneness, unification. There was no divisions in it, no separations. Like the truth. Okay? Scripture speak about speaking the same thing, no schisms, no divisions among you. So now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. They said therefore among themselves, let us not rend it. Let us not tear it. Or break it apart, rip it apart, but cast lots for it. Okay? Gotta cast lots.
Strong's G 2975, Laghano.
Laghano. Cast lot, determined by lot. To draw lots. See if I can find a better definition. Here's from vocabulary.com. Casting lots, making a chance decision by using lots, straws or pebbles that are thrown or drawn. In other words, they was gonna make a decision about who was gonna cast a lot for it. It doesn't tell you exactly how they was gonna cast a lot. Figuratively drawing a straw, like the term drawing straws, which was actually done literally. People actually do that literally. It doesn't tell you what they actually did to cast lots, but it was some decision that was made among them about who was going to get the garment, because the garment wasn't going to be torn in pieces, giving one part to each person, but rather a lot will be cast on who will get the garment. And the reason why they wasn't going to tear the garment, because the garment represented oneness, unification, one doctrine, one truth, but also represented the fact that Yahweh Shah's kingdom will not be divided, will not be torn, will not be rent. So it said, let us not rend it or tear it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be. It wasn't going to be torn. That the scripture might be fulfilled, which saith, they parted my raiment among them, and for my vesture they did cast lots. These things therefore the soldiers did. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 22, verse 18. They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. There you go. Got it right there. That's the prophecy. Now, when you go into the scriptures, garments represent many things like righteousness. For example, Isaiah 52:1. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem. Now how is it says, now put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. How can a city put on a garment? It's impossible. The city, the holy city, represents the people of Jerusalem, children of Israel. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, based upon your father's line, the elect. For for henceforth they shall no more come into the uncircumcised and unclean. Because when the children of Israel receive the kingdom of heaven, they're never going to be overthrown again. They're never going to be conquered by the enemies. Shake thyself from the dust. Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. How can a city have a neck? It doesn't have a neck. It's likened unto the children of Israel that have bands or chains about their neck, like being a captive. But the main point I wanted to get to is the garment part. See that? Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem. So we see how the people of Jerusalem, the Lord's holy city, all right? The Lord said, the scripture saying, put on thy beautiful garments. Just as the Lord's kingdom, which is going to be New Jerusalem, that kingdom is never going to be rent again. So just as the Lord's garment not being rent, not being torn, represents New Jerusalem, the kingdom of heaven, never being torn or divided. The Lord's holy city, Jerusalem, the kingdom of heaven, is never going to be torn, never be divided. See that? 1 Kings 11:29. And it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces. So Ahijah this prophet took Jeroboam's garment. See Jeroboam right here, the first king of the northern kingdom of Israel. When the kingdom split at the death of Solomon, and the 10 tribes split off from Judah and Benjamin, in the kingdom under Solomon's son Rehoboam, idolatry was introduced at the beginning of his reign. So we see that he was the king of Israel, king of the northern kingdom of Israel, right? And it said Ahijah did what? And he said, he caught the new garment and rent it in 12 pieces. He took Jeroboam's garment and tore it in 12 pieces, right? And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Yahweh Shem Yahshua, the God, the power of Israel. Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of thy hand, out of the hand of Solomon, and I will give 10 tribes to thee. So we see another scripture here likening the rending of garments to a kingdom being torn apart. Just as Yahweh's garment was not rent, representing is going to be one piece, unified, representing oneness, and representing the kingdom of Israel will never be divided or torn apart. New Jerusalem, the holy city, put on that beautiful garments. Jeroboam's garment being rent in 12 pieces by Ahijah the prophet, all represents what? The garment is representing the kingdom, and the garment being torn is representing a kingdom being torn apart. But Yahweh's garment, that coat, was not torn apart. It was not rent. Why? Because his kingdom was going to be one kingdom, and it was going to reign forever. It was never going to be torn apart. It was never going to be divided. It was never going to be conquered. See? I could go deeper to that, but that's the point of that. Let's keep going. Daniel chapter 2 verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. That's talking about the Lord's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven. It's going to never be destroyed. That garment is never going to be rent, meaning torn. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people. Just as Yahweh's garment wasn't going to be torn and given to them Roman soldiers, torn in pieces. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So the Lord's kingdom is going to stand forever. And so the Lord's kingdom is gonna stand forever.